Hello and welcome to today's flawless face tutorial. Today I'm going to be going over how to prep and prime the skin, how to apply foundation, the best ways that I know how to in terms of setting and contouring and blush and highlight, and how to blend it all together and make sure that it lasts all day. So if you are interested in all of those things, then please keep watching. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the little bell. That way, anytime I upload a video, you'll be the first to know, and stay in tune with all the tips, tricks, hacks, whatever little fancy word you can think of that we have as makeup artists. Thanks again. So I've gone ahead and done my eye makeup as well as my eyebrows and applied a little bit of lip oil to my lips to prepare them for later on to be able to accept a liquid lipstick better. If you'd actually like to see an eye makeup look or my eyebrow tutorial or how I like to do eyelashes, please leave a comment down in the comment section below so that I know that you're interested. So I have gone ahead and washed my face, put on a little bit of moisturizer. I have clean hands, all very important things. And you let the moisturizer set for a few minutes before you move on. Anything with skin you want to let set for a few minutes before you move on to the next thing. So I have today two, although I have many, primers. These are dimethicone and silicone based primers. They both end in cone, which means they go with a silicone based foundation. My foundation today I'm going to be using is the Smashbox Studio Skin. I'm in the number 2.1. And the reason I mention this, and I'll probably make a tutorial solely on primers and how they work with foundations. If you actually want to see something like that, please also let me know in the comments below so I know how to cater these makeup tutorials to whatever you want. In any case, I use this guy around my nose because that's where I usually get makeup breakup most often later in the day. I use this one on the perimeters of my face because I find it to be just a little bit more hydrating than the Ofra one. And then obviously I'll put on the foundation. I will link or list everything down below in the comment section or in my box as to all the products that I use, but I'm gonna go ahead and prep the skin starting with the Ofra Silicone Primer Gel, just a tiny little dab. I'm gonna warm it up between my fingers and press it all around the areas where I usually get the most makeup breakup. That's what I like to call it. I don't know what you guys call it, but it's that feeling when you look in the mirror like 3 to 4 hours later and you think, why is my foundation moving around? Or why is it sliding off? Or why are there little pieces? Mine's always around my nose. All right, and then I take a little bit of the Too Faced Prime and Poreless Pure. I like the Pure because it's fragrance free, everything free, but again, it's still a silicone base, or actually it's dimethicone, but again, silicone based because my foundation has a silicone base. So it's important that you stick water primers with water foundations, water-based foundations, and same thing goes for silicone-based foundations with silicone primers. All right, so next step is apply. My phone is making noises, sorry. I have Smashbox primer water. I like to spritz my face with this after I apply primers because it actually gives a little bit more tacky adhesiveness to also keep it on. So I'm going to give myself a few quick spritz. Now, everyone has a different tool that they prefer. Here I have some EcoTools sponges. I like these kind of as much as I like the Beauty Blender. Any sort of makeup sponge will do, but what I like about these is you wet them first, you wring them out, and then it helps to better apply the foundation. So I'm gonna wet these and I'll be right back. So in general, after you wet the sponges and wring them out, they get a little bit more bigger, they increase in size, and then they get a little bit more spongy, if that makes sense. So when I'm working with foundations, in order to create a flawless face, I usually like to take a pump and then I will start on one side of my face and I'll start making little marks, and then I'm going to work from the center of my face outward, one section at a time. Some people will say, oh, just put it all over your face at one time, but I find that if you do that, it tends to start to dry down, especially some foundations that dry down more quickly than others. So by working in small sections of the face from the center outwards, you have more control with the dry down time, and also working center outwards will leave less of that line, that hard line that you see chicks with when you go to the grocery store and you're like, oh, you have an orange line here. Sometimes they'll be shade matched to the proper shade, but they'll have so much foundation right here that it actually oxidizes over time, and then it'll create that crazy looking line. So I'm gonna go ahead and work in small sections of my face, blending it out, pouncing on my face with the sponge, and watch me in fast forward action. So you saw earlier that I had two different sponges. These actually come in a package just like this, and I believe the package for both of these in the Eco Tools is something around $9. I think you can buy this guy by himself for about $6, but I like these together because this guy is so small, he works great for concealer under the eyes, so now I'm gonna move on to concealer. I have the 24-hour waterproof concealer from Smashbox, and I find that this works pretty well. I have other concealers that I use, but for the sake of this tutorial, this is the one I'm going to use. So I like to first make a stripe by my nose, make a stripe out wide, bring little guys down, and do the same thing with the other side. And now I'm going to make a strip down my nose because my nose tends to get really red, and I also like the way it balances out the face, and a few little flower stems here. What's left on the brush, down the Cupid's bow, a little by my nostrils because they get red, and a smidgen here. If you're a woman of color, like deep color, I also find that it's really useful to take your concealer and run it just to right about here. It helps even out the face and not make it so flat. So if you're looking for some sort of tip or trick to help you with that, I hope that helps you. Now with the small sponge, you can use either side. I prefer the more wide side. You're gonna blend it out same way as foundation. So it's at this point that I actually like to set just the under eye area. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm actually going to set my whole face with the same powder just to make it easier for you. Today I'm going to be using the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder in the shade Light Translucent. I really like this powder by Cover FX. It doesn't feel very drying to me. Sometimes other powders feel very drying on the face, and then I end up getting cake face later in the day, and ain't nobody about the cake face lifestyle. I'm actually going to use this Real Techniques 300 brush because I like the shape of it. I prefer kind of like this domed, somewhat dense but somewhat fluffy brush for control. The trick is you want to press it in, knock some of it off, and you want to make sure that you don't have any creases. So if you need to, look up like this in the mirror and then pat it in. I also take it on the bridge of my nose and up into this area. And don't worry if it looks a little crazy because you'll dust part of it off, but this is the area where I tend to get the most makeup breakup. So if you pat your powder into those areas, you will have less issues with creasing and less issues with it breaking up over the rest of the day. Now I'm gonna take this large powder F30 by Sigma, take whatever is left in there, and I'm going to gently dust it over the rest of my face, the areas where it doesn't really matter if I am pushing it into the skin or not. Remember these areas here where you always have breakup, or if you have breakup somewhere else, you want to push into the skin and not swirl. Areas where you don't get breakup, it's not as bad. All right, so now looking good, but looking a little flat. So we're gonna move on to warming up the skin and contouring. Contouring is more of an ashen base. It's more ashy, grayish looking. It's meant to chisel out and mark out things, whereas bronzer is more on the warms, like the oranges, the reds, colors like in that family. For the sake of making it easy and not making this video a million years long, I'm going to show you how to contour and highlight with the Tartiest Pro Glow palette. It looks like this, and it comes with a cream, a powder, and then 4 other lighter shades. I'm going to use the powder called Sculpt, and if you notice, it has a little bit of both warms and maybe like a hint of grayish in there. So I'm going to use this actually to sculpt out my face, or irony that it's called Sculpt. In lieu of using a contour and a bronzer, I'm just going to use this. And then I'm probably going to use this color up here called Strobe to highlight. I'm going to show you how to contour first. So let's get on that. I have this Tarte little, I'm gonna say a flat kabuki. I'm not really sure exactly what they call this, but I like it because it's the perfect little rectangular shape. And you take a little bit of the contour. You always want to contour from the top of your ear, headed towards the lip, but not all the way down to the lip, because if you draw a line here, it's gonna look a little cray-cray. But you want to kind of keep it around, I like to tell people, around where their eye, like the arch of your eyebrow is. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna start just moving back and forth, like so, from the top of my ear, headed down towards where my lip area is. And as you can see, I'm starting to create some dimension in my face so it doesn't look as flat. If you need to pick up a little bit more, you can do that, but you can already start to tell this side doesn't have any versus this side. I'm gonna warm up my face just a little bit more, and I like to bring it kind of where some of your blush would be, in a slight circular, angular motion. Still same thing down, but I just like to build it up, and I'm going to start bringing it up to the side of my face again, so that way you're not flat. And as you see, it's kind of creating that gradient dimension down the face. I like to also take the same color Sculpt, and because I have more of an oval face, I like to make it to where my forehead doesn't look as giant, because my husband says I look like Gina sometimes, but whatever, I don't care. So I'm just gonna create a little warmth and dimension, like the sun has hit me on the high points there. And I also like to take and run down from where the eyebrow is down to the end. I like to just run a little bit down and underneath the nose, underneath the lip, and then carry it down underneath the chin, just whatever is left on your brush. So you can tell sculpted, contoured, warmed side versus not. And there is a difference. For some people, it doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna go ahead and speed mode through the right side of my face. just add a little bit on the bridge of my nose because I feel like that's where the sun hits you. And if that's where the sun hits you, it should look like it, right? So you're not completely flat. So now, after we've contoured, warmed it up, I like to take, with that same Real Techniques brush and a little bit more of that Cover FX powder, I like to take the brush and right under, especially if you're just learning and you kind of get bronzer contour all over the place, I like to take it on its edge and press up underneath with my powder just to give it a little bit more definition and segregate that contour out so that way it really pops. So this is the side that has that extra bit of chiseled look, and this is the side it's not. It's your preference. If you prefer it blown out a little bit more, you don't have to do this step, but if you like it a little bit more refined and a little bit more sharp, then do this step. All right, so now that we've done that, it's time to move on to blush. Today, I'm gonna use this really pretty neutral blush. To me, it's neutral. It's by Tarte. It's called Tarte. And I really like Tarte blushes. This is the color. It's like a neutral pink mauve color. I'm gonna pat it in, tap it off, and take my, this is an angled brush, a large angled contour brush that I like to use for blush by Sigma. It's an F40. F40. I can't talk anymore. Here we go. And I like to first start by, again, pressing it, because I feel like you worked so hard on getting your face to this flawless state that it would be a crime and a shame to screw it up now. So if you press the blush in, you can kind of work it around in small pouncing motions with this brush. I like this brush too because it is very soft and forgiving, and I just kind of bring it just above slightly where I had that sculpt shade. Now I'm gonna do the other side. And I always put a little bit, again, just on the bridge there, on the top, and a little bit on my chin, because it's good to add a little bit of warmth back to the face. All right, so on to the fun part. We're gonna pick up, I have an Anastasia A23 brush that I really enjoy for highlight. I'm going to gently sweep on the color Strobe, tap once, and then you're gonna take the highlighter and you're gonna, I like to angle kind of my face at an angle, looking down. And I'm going to press it going just above where I laid the blush, but down that angle, down towards the bottom of the nose. And I like to apply highlight like this versus swirling it all around, because sometimes that can actually move your foundation around, believe it or not. And I find that it's easiest just to press it down in a small sweeping motion downward versus like a crazy swirling action. Sometimes that's not, if your foundation isn't gonna budge, it's fine, but I prefer it like this. And I do take it down pretty far because I like my highlight to look like a highlight, right? I don't want to apply highlight and make it not look like a highlight. But then again, I'm a little extra, so. I also take a little bit more and I press it just above my tail of my eyebrow here, because I feel like it just connects it. You want it to almost look like a slight C, because it looks more flawless and complete versus just like a streak of highlight. It's also why I like to pull it down. I'm gonna do the other side now. I also like to take on the, let me hold this properly, on the edge, on the center part of the brush, I like to run it on the tip of my nose, and then whatever is left over, just kind of back and forth up the middle just to give it a little more. And then I take and put a little bit on my Cupid's bow and I run this part back and forth. And then I like to just touch it there and just look and see where else I need it. And I've actually done pretty good this time. So I'm gonna leave that as is. Now here comes a step that I personally like to do, and I do on clients as well, is I take a large dual fiber brush. This one is the F50 by Sigma. You can see literally it is 2 fibers. And I like this brush a lot because it helps to blend everything together. So if you ever feel like, oh, I can't wear blush, or I can't contour, or I can't highlight because it looks like there's giant streaks all over my face, here's probably your solution. Buy a nice dual fiber brush, like I said, like this one here. And I want you to hold it at the very, almost at the end, so not here close to where the bristles are, but way back here, because it'll give you a softer application and a softer control. It won't be as hard. So if I'm up here, it's gonna be really hard. I'm gonna be pressing the skin, but if you're holding it back here, it actually helps to not have that much pressure, if that makes sense. And I'm going to gently, in small circular motions, I'm going to blend out my highlight, my blush, and my contour. The same theory applies for when you're doing eyeshadow. You want to kind of make it blended together so you don't have choppy, streaky blocks. Unless, of course, you're going for color blocking, but we're not trying to color block our face right now. So again, I'm just blending my highlight, my contour, and my blush together. You can also take this and run it around the perimeters of your face to help blend out wherever you've applied any sort of color or contour or highlight. And it will just help everything look and feel put together and flawless. So we're gonna finish by setting everything in place for the face. I personally like, again, there's so many that I could tell you that I like, but for today, I'm using the Glamglow Glowsetter. It's such a fine, wonderful mist, and it smells nice. But I like this because, first of all, you should always use a setting spray at the end, and not all setting sprays are created equal. But it helps not only to keep the makeup lasting longer, but it helps melt everything together. It has ingredients in it that are going to chemically kind of bind everything together so it looks like one cohesive unit on your face instead of a bunch of different broken up particles. So I'm going to, for the Glamglow, you hold it a little bit closer to the face versus other setting sprays like the Urban Decay All Nighter, but like so. I love it. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish my under eye area, smoke it out a little bit, apply some lower mascara, and I'm going to do my lip, and I'll be right back. So this completes the look. As I said, I've added lip product on. I lined and filled my lips with the NYX lip liner in Nude Pink and the Anastasia Beverly Hills Pure Hollywood liquid lipstick. And the flawless face routine is now yours. If you recreate my look, or if you decide to practice what I just taught, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you'd like to see something specific, please be sure to let me know as well. I'm always happy to cater to whatever it is you need. All right, thanks. Have a great day.